The United States is one call away from a war with Venezuela. For 2 long months, the US military has been building up a force of warships, fighter jets, drones, and spy planes in the Caribbean Sea. Everyday strikes have killed over 60 people, who Washington claims are narco-terrorists. Responding to hostilities, the Venezuelan government has reached out to 3 powers of the world, all enemies of America.
Don't tell anyone. Let this stay between us. Messages are arriving from military ranks.
I'm Ananya Dutta. Let's get started. Venezuela is a country of 28 million people sitting on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. It was once Latin America's richest economy, but has spent the last entire decade in free fall. Inflation is through the roof, public services have collapsed, and people are leaving the country every single day. And today, the president, Nicolás Maduro, is facing the greatest challenge to his political existence. The US has declared him a cartel kingpin and announced a $50 million bounty on his head. So Maduro has answered the crisis with the only lever left that has historically kept him in power: outside powers. The Washington Post has accessed US government documents that say that Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is reaching out to Russia, China, and Iran for weapons. But as diplomats were dispatched with letters to Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran, another narrative took precedence in Caracas. This one coming from the opposition leader and newly crowned Nobel Peace Prize winner, María Corina Machado. Her pitch completely flips Maduro's script.
We have to understand that now Iranian, Russian, and Chinese have operations in Venezuela, military, intelligence, and technology, only 3 hours away from Florida.
Let's decode this one country at a time. We start with the oldest ally, Russia. Russia remains Venezuela's deepest strategic partner in security as well as energy. The relationship is decades old and covers oil deals, military sales, intelligence cooperations since Hugo Chávez's rise to power in 1999. It is an unequal partnership to the eye, where Russia provides military aid, training to the Venezuelan troops, and weapons. In fact, just in July, Venezuela opened a factory to produce Russian Kalashnikov munitions. And last week, a Russian transport aircraft linked to the Russian military and sanctioned by the US landed in Caracas. While Russian state-linked oil companies do receive some amount of oil in return for their investments, the real benefit of Moscow's investment in Venezuela is geopolitical. In return for arms and money, Russia gains a significant foothold in South America.
We have daily ongoing communication with the Russian government on all issues, as we have many projects in development. This week, there was major news about military cooperation, something natural, since we've had 25 years of military collaboration.
On the other hand, for Machado, the Russian relationship is not strategic, it's a parasite. She argues that decades of Russian hardware and intelligence cooperation have embedded Moscow inside Venezuela's military and cybersecurity.
In the case of Russia, Russia has armed Venezuela. Russia has helped in intelligence, espionage, and technology. And they have agents currently operating in our country.
There is also a caveat. The standoff between Washington and Caracas could even offer the Russians some unexpected benefits as Trump turns American attention away from Europe. And that brings us to China. You see, China is Venezuela's largest external creditor. Over the last 2 decades, Beijing's state banks and firms extended what analysts say is about $50 to $60 billion mark. This is overwhelmingly oil-backed finance and infrastructure credit. And that exposure has turned economic leverage into a geopolitical stake. And Machado is very suspicious of it.
In the case of China, I don't know if you guys are aware, but Venezuela has turned to be the first in China's history receiver of loans. The largest loan portfolio China has had in its history is Venezuela, over $60 billion. And one thing that I'm surprised is not been noted before is that China in 2012 got granted, commissioned by President Hugo Chavez, then President Hugo Chavez, to its state-owned company called CITIC, a full studio, geological studio of Venezuelan mineral resources.
China's expertise in surveillance systems and fighter jets can be a game changer for Venezuela. And speaking of game changers, Iran's USP drone technology has sprung it in demand. Iran's footprint is different from Russia's and China's, yes, but no less consequential. There are scattered reports to suggest that Iran's drone assistance to Venezuela goes back to the year 2007. The mutual agreement has since produced reconnaissance, armed and kamikaze drones. The partnership has strengthened in the recent past. The Washington Post claimed that the Venezuelan transport minister recently coordinated a shipment of military equipment and drones from Iran while planning a visit to the country. Now, Machado has connected these deals to funding Hezbollah in Lebanon.
In the case of Iran, Iran has turned Venezuela into its satellite, operating from the heart of the Americas. Not only the National Guard has been operating and training forces, they have given technology in drone systems. They are building drones, armed drones in our country, and they have used Venezuelan financial system to launder their resources for groups such as Hezbollah and other terrorist groups to operate, giving them over 10,000 Venezuelan passports to freely move around the world and the Americas.
What's happening in the Caribbean is extremely risky business. The US is busy keeping the world guessing if its actions are genuinely pointed at the drug dealers or the man sitting in Caracas. And Maduro needs to be very careful here. With the war in Ukraine raging, he should not expect Putin to be his savior. And if Russia leaves, China and Iran might follow suit. So Caracas is no longer a purely domestic problem. It has become a junction where Russian energy deals, Chinese finance and Iranian military know-how meet, all while US forces patrol nearby seas. That's it for today's Grey Zone. Thanks for watching. I'm Ananya Dutta.